Man City 3, Manchester United 0. Now, I want to talk about some of the great bits from Man City. I want to talk about the Donnarumma debut, which I thought was an interesting one to touch on. But a lot of this will be about Man United. Man City, we're going to do a whole kind of deep dive into how Man United kind of absolutely struggled to cope with the plan that you had. And one thing that you definitely had were just lovely rotations. And there's so much I want to kind of really get into the fine detail of. But this is an instant reaction where I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. And I think the big thing that everyone's going to be screaming about is Amorim. 8 wins in 30. 8. That's like sensationally bad. And I feel like he's being suffocated a little bit by this system. And I've said this before, like what sort of gets you the job can also cost you the job. And I think for Amorim, the thing that is suffocating him a little bit here is that it's just so problematic, I think, to have this kind of one identity. Now, of course, there are subtleties to it, and he wanted, in his pre-match interview, he was talking about, look, we might, he kind of gave it away, play Diallo on the left, and because we want those runners in behind and to be able to have that. And Mbeumo will be different to a profile of Fernandes. Like, people talk about profiles all the time. But the problem that I'm seeing with this is that when you are a manager and you have one way of playing, which is this, there's a lot of sort of trigger movements. And if it's all going well and it's all dovetailing, then great. But if not, you're getting kind of isolated a lot of the time. And we'll get into the detail of why this is still such a struggle for Man United. And Bruno Fernandes just spoke, and I thought it was really, really interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but if you have, then you will have seen his demeanour was quite calm. Because I think 3-4 years ago, the sort of status quo of how we should react is to go, this is a disgrace, the world is angry, burn it down. Do you know what I mean? All of that. I think there's a gentle apathy or acceptance of where Man United are right now. And Bruno Fernandes is obviously part of that. I have so much respect for how he just keeps going as a player. But he was talking, and it was good because it's always nice when you're trying to make a video to break down a game. We've got all the elements that Bruno Fernandes was talking about in his post-match interview, where he was talking about how Man City were able to overload those central areas. And we'll get into all of that. But the system is just very squared off. And you've got a lot of players playing now in positions where, like, does he really want to be doing all of the work of what could often be 3 midfielders in a team? You've got this guy who kind of sometimes plays as a right wing back, kind of wants to play on this side more so than this side, but can play that side as well. This sounds like good options, but in terms of players truly going where they want to be, you've got a left back playing left-sided centre back. Now, is that down to sort of his physical well-being at this stage, Luke Shaw? Like, maybe. Dorgu, yep, look, he kind of wants to bomb up and down, so you've got one player, but he's one that was brought through for it. The players that look comfortable in this system in terms of doing what they want him to do, it's 2 of them. And then you've got someone like Ugarte, maybe was kind of brought in, has obviously worked with Amorim at Sporting previously. But I said during the game, I was like, I don't remember Ugarte making a pass. Full stop. Like, it's not, and not as a dig, but I just don't see him affecting the game. One thing that Bruno Fernandes said was that he spoke about, it's a simple one. We need to concede less and score more. And I was like, of course, yeah, right. And he's in the moment. He's just got to give an answer, right? But I also think you've got to be able to hold on to the ball. You've got to be able to progress the ball, and you've got to be able to get the ball back. And this Man United team really, really struggled with that. And to the point of Man City, they were able to progress the ball really easily, I thought. It was a lot of kind of reactive moments and movements defensively. And then with the ball, just super negative. Super negative. And as I say, we'll come back here. Like, the squad building, and we knew this was going to come round, didn't we? If he didn't start well. And you were sort of, you're hoping that he starts. He's like a nice bloke, so you're hoping it would kind of work. But everyone would be screaming for a 4-2-3-1. Because understandably, someone like Kobbie Mainoo, who I thought came in and did really well, actually, in terms of getting on the ball, driving past players, like affecting the game from that point of view. Otherwise, if you look at the third goal, and we'll break it down in the video that goes out tomorrow, it was about negative play. That's what cost that third goal. People have a go at Harry Maguire for that. It's not about Harry Maguire. It's about all the negative aspects leading up to that. Now, that's partly down to Man City being a really good team. And I thought the way way Pep put his team together today and how they built up was really, really clever. But they've also got better players. I think that's another thing. And so this is a tough game. And that's to the fact that like Bruno Fernandes is talking about and talking quite calmly about a 3-0 defeat in a Manchester derby. That just doesn't... That sits funny with me. I don't really see many partnerships building here. And again, look, it's funny because like when we look at the Menno bar or the stats, but you guys watched the game, there was only one winner there. Like it felt pretty clear. Let's have a look at like even the momentum bar. I kind of found myself all the stats. Like I found myself going, oh, didn't really expect that. Like the attacking momentum. Obviously, look, the problem is like by the time the second goal goes in, like the game's over, right? A little bit. And I think with the lineups, this is what I'm trying to kind of get to the truth a lot of the time, right? And the system is not allowing you to probably play your best players, but there's something even murkier than that. Not murkier, but like it's more kind of awry for them. One thing I would say is like look at the substitutions that came on as well. Look at the attacking quality. Savinho, Oscar Bob, even Gonzalez, he could be a bit of a controller for you. Man United brought on Harry Maguire and Casemiro. Like when you're 2-0 down. And the rest of that, you know, those substitutes, that's not going to help you change the game. So if you can't really change the game wholeheartedly with the personnel, and part of that is because I thought they really missed a bit of intelligence up there, right? Mason Mount and Matheus Cunha, both of those would have been huge assets for this game. But if you can't change it with the personnel, the system needs to change. And that's the thing now. Can Amorim, after being so certain of what he wanted to do and having spent a lot of money to get those players to do what he wants to do, would he be brave enough or kind of humble enough to go, these players in these positions, it's not working and I need to find a way to get someone like Kobbie Mainoo into this team? But the problem you have when I literally tried to build it out, and if we can do it together, because this 2 is just so problematic, especially with the squad that you've got now. And as I say, I'm not having to go at someone like Bruno Fernandes because I think he's working, he's playing the ball forwards, he's trying to make passes, he's scurrying around all over the bloody place, working his nuts off. Like it's hard for him. But Mainoo, if you want to bring him in a 2, defensively that feels weak, right? Fernandes, you've got to kind of get into this team. But there's, you've got 1, 2, you've got 3 fullbacks here, and he's played wing-back before. I just think the change that needs to come is going to a 4. So let's explore it, right? So if you go De Ligt and Yoro, is it going to be Shaw or is it going to be Dorgu? There's a decision to be made there, right? Then I think you then bring in the 3. Now, the problem is that he's ingrained this way of playing. But at the moment, it feels just so really blocky. It feels like these guys stay here. These guys can jump a little bit, but not too far if they're playing as those 2 centre-backs. Dorgu's got to do all of that. Mazraoui, he's going to naturally come here. He's going to play in this channel. And it's all okay, people playing in these channels. Seshko trying to run in behind at times, but not really doing much. Diallo, this would have been Matheus Cunha in this similar position. This is all fine. We'll have to take one out, right? And then you've got these 2 here. That's what, when I'm watching them, it feels like that. It feels like that. And that, in 2025, there's not enough rotation there. There's not enough quality there. You've got a goalkeeper that, fortunately, I think he's going to come out, and so teams aren't going to be able to press and hurt them in the same way. But the lack of rotation in this team is a massive problem. And if you look at Man City, it was the complete opposite. Complete opposite. So as you look to build out this, maybe like a back 4 instead, let's take Shaw out. Let's let Dorgu be a fullback, and we'll get rid of all of this, right? Because I think it's as much as saying change the system, you've got to prove it. You've got to prove how you're going to get it done, and that is part of the problem, I think, for me. So Casemiro or Ugarte, do you believe in Ugarte sitting there? Can someone sit there? Do you want Ugarte to go and do that? Do you want him to go and be it? Because if he starts running around like a headless chicken, you're still going to leave those spaces in behind. You need someone to literally dig a hole. Maybe it's Casemiro, but he's going to get targeted somewhat. Then you can bring in Maino and Fernandes. But then now all of a sudden you've then got a front three. And who's your best front three? Because you've brought Mount in, you've got Cunha. I mean, Xerxes, if you want to get him involved in some way. It's light. It's a really light team right now. And moving it to this, the one thing it might allow for is players being truly where they want to be, whilst also having the kind of safety net of a three in midfield. Because that midfield, it's killing them. Because if you can have two like that, go back to the Chelsea side with Conte, Matic, Kante. They could do the defensive work of 3 and 2. And also, again, football still moved forward from then. So would it still totally work? I think you've got to be able to own the ball and you've got to have the right profiles in that central area. And as much as they want it to work, and as much as it's Man City, who are really, really good, he's just going to die on this hill, isn't he? Because I'm not really seeing combinations or partnerships. I think Mazraoui's very, diligent professional, so he's trying to work with Mbeumo, but there's a limitation to him there, isn't there? And Mbeumo feels like he's on his own a little bit, and then it feels just like a lot of switches, and which leads to a bit of confusion, or it just feels like it's a lot of kind of individual moments might get you somewhere, or a cross in the box from about here, the amount of times switch over here. Fernandes is waiting, lays it off, crosses it in. It's an okay tactic. But if Seshko's the only one in there, it's just going to hurt you. It's really, really going to hurt you. Struggle with these boxes there. Man City, I thought Donnarumma, big save, didn't he? Made a huge save. And actually, there were there's a couple of big chances for Man United, which does make it look different. And Mbeumo should have scored. Casemiro should have scored a second after that. Seshko, I've got to show you this. This is incredible. And again, this is the game, right? So the question I have is, do we allow for the fact that, look, these are two different beings? Do you allow for that or not? Because when I have a look at the average positions here, the one thing that I thought was wow, was this. Check this out. Here's Haaland. Look how many touches in the box. Look at Seshko. He literally didn't get in the box. That can't happen against anyone. You buy a lad, he'll get hammered, right? For not having an impact. You haven't got the ball to him. And that inability to get the ball to him, I think, is because there's just a few too many. It's just square pegs in round holes, isn't it? Now, do you keep continuing this? But you need to be able to see something. I think we did see something in that Arsenal game. But I think losing Matheus Cunha today just such a loss for them. And that can't be the case. Because then it just goes back to Bruno Fernandes kind of being on his own. Lots of sideways and backwards passes from Man United. Man City really good, right? I'm going to get in particular, I can't wait to talk to you guys about Doku. We saw him play this way at the Club World Cup when I was doing the show for DAZN, and I was like, yes, that is what I want to see from Jeremy Doku. And it's not what you would naturally expect to want to see about Jeremy Doku, but we're going to get into a lot of detail on that. So make sure you don't miss out on that video. It's one where are we surprised by this result? Probably not. I think it's a great result for Man City, who, despite all the superstars, there's been an element of malaise there. I thought Thogden enjoyed that area of the pitch. Still a little bit, hesitant maybe, or sort of feels like he's not really truly free out there just yet, but much better, involved in a couple of the goals, partly down to the sort of tactical dominance, I think, of Pep Guardiola in that midfield overload as much as anything else. So he had a lot of space to run into, but there were other moments where the decisions or the passes weren't exactly right. But good to see him kind of back and affecting games, getting himself a goal. I would be wary of going too far with the Phil Foden thing. Haaland, just sensational, I think, as ever. I mean, I can't believe he didn't score that goal, that third one. But the way that he's able to just slot that second goal, he's just so chilled from that point of view. And as I say, Donnarumma, like, he'll be what he'll be in terms of, like, having the ball. And I think a team that's able to press a little bit better with a better energy is going to maybe put a bit more pressure on him. But there were moments where it was like, okay, they've gone to be a bit higher on us. We're going to go long. And that is the way football is heading right now. So in terms of enabling someone like Donnarumma to not get exposed in this Man City team, which sounds hilarious when you talk about Donnarumma, I think the way that football is heading, it's where you've got to be a little bit more long ball and direct and adaptable. That's something where it's not the end of the world, especially when you've got Haaland up top. And when he makes massive saves like that and Burmo save, that will, that keeps the game state as it is. Do you know what I mean? It keeps it at 2-0, or I think it was 2-0 at the time. But the final word's got to be for Amorim. Like, he has to change. And I think the problem he's got is because he's been so clear on that, if he changes and doesn't get like immediate results, like he is in big, big trouble because he's just decided that that's the correct way to go. And I wonder, is he regretting that? Just to give himself that little bit of flexibility, because the game is often about overloads in different areas. And if you can't have the rotations with an element of freedom that you want to have, it makes it harder to control the ball. And in terms of this team out of possession, there's a lot of moving parts, it feels like, instead of being totally set. And there's a lot of defensive players in that team as well. What do you think? Doesn't feel great, does it? But it was Man City. I know I'm going in circles now. Let's speak soon. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the JLA video tomorrow. We'll be getting to that deep dive on how City was so sensational. And I'll speak to you soon.